Hi there. I'm so excited to welcome you on board. Thank you so much for investing in your emotional health. I know this is going to be the very first step in your emotional journey, and by the end of this course, we're going to have a very strong emotional relationship between you and I. And I'm so privileged to be able to help you heal yourself, heal your emotions. I know what you're going through. I've been through quite a bit of this sort of emotional pain with my own family, and there was no course like this when I started, doing my healing process. So I've thought, you know what, there's so many people suffering with family dysfunction and toxic family relationships. Why isn't this being looked at? So I took it upon myself to create this. So I hope you find it very helpful. Now, know that we are developing a very open relationship here. So feel free throughout the course to reach out with questions you might have, or if you're not sure about something, feel free to email me. This isn't just about purchasing the program and you're on your own. If I could help you, that's why I'm here, all right? So let's get started, love. And today's, you've signed up for stage 1 of 4 stages in the emotional empowerment program. So stage 1, very first lesson 1, we're going to recognize your pain. This is about your emotional pain. I felt that this is very, very important to start out with, because I remember when I was feeling the things I did and unhappy, it was like no one could acknowledge my pain. Every time I shared it with someone, they would say, "Oh, Rita, that's family. That's normal. Just suck it up. Get over it." And that used to infuriate me because the pain was very real for me. And I'm sure it's very real for you. That's why you're here. So I wanted to start up with lesson 1, discussing your pain. Okay? So let's start talking about it and acknowledging that it is actually real. Your pain, your sadness, your anger is very real and justified. All right? So I'm just going to refer to my notes here, and we're going to go through the exercise together. So let's talk about recognizing your emotional pain. In this lesson, you'll begin to understand where your unhappiness started. Okay? We'll talk about number 1, why your emotional pain is a real thing. 2, how to recognize if you're in emotional pain. 3, why you're unhappy. 4, why your parent is causing you emotional pain. 5, how your parent raised you with fear. We'll talk about 3 different things under that category. And number 6, the emotional damage that you're dealing with right now as a result of that. So why your emotional pain is real. If you feel pain, then it's real, okay? You're not alone in imagining it. Many people are suffering in silence, with the same emotional pain that you're going through due to toxic parent relationships and dysfunctional families. So many sweep it under the rug, all right? The other point I want to say is always be honest with yourself. It's actually okay to admit that you're unhappy, that you're angry, pissed off, frustrated with your parent or other toxic family members. You have to admit that truth to yourself, okay? 3, that your anger and sadness is actually justified, okay? That stop listening to people, again, that are telling you to get over it. So let's recognize if you are and emotional pain. Here are some of the things that I'm going to read off to you. See if you could recognize any of these characteristics. If so, if you have a lot, you could tell the level of emotional pain that you're in. The more of these things you have, the more extreme and chronic the emotional pain is. All right? And I'm sure you have some of them, or you wouldn't be here right now. So, have you become uncharacteristically angry, frustrated, more sarcastic, and very reactive when people talk to you? So I want you to start, and what I want to say with this whole healing journey is to really go inward and start paying attention to yourself. I want you to observe yourself like you're almost in third person, like you're another person and you're watching TV and you're watching this person's behavior. So I want you to start seeing yourself, because this way you could be objective. When you're that person and you're reacting as that person, you can't see yourself clearly or objectively like other people see you. Okay? So put that in your mind, and I want you to start seeing yourself as though you're watching TV and you're on the screen. Okay? That's how I want you to say. So start noticing your behavior. Are you more sad and depressed often? Okay? Do you feel like withdrawing from people? You have a bigger desire to be alone? You enjoy your company more than others? Are you engaging in risky behavior that's risky for you? You know, doing things that could potentially harm you that you wouldn't do before, like taking drugs or drinking too often or overeating, you know, things that are habitually not good for you. So you're taking more risks, you know, not caring about yourself. Again, self-sabotaging, you know, not getting up in the morning, doing your hygiene and taking care of yourself and brushing your teeth and changing your clothes. Are you involved in more alcohol, doing drugs, working too much, gambling, gaming, spending too much money you don't have, overeating, undereating, eating too much sugar? You know, these are some of the things you need to observe yourself doing, all right? There's sort of negative coping strategies that we often use when we're not happy, okay? Do you feel more anxious? Are you overstressed, right? Are you not sleeping at night? Are you always tired, exhausting, perhaps sleeping too much? Do you have low energy? Are you lost your motivation to do anything, right? Do you feel hopeless? Do you feel like giving up? I mean, we all do sometimes, but on a regular basis, then that's a flag. Have you lost your faith in God, in the universe, in angels, or something bigger than yourself? And I'm going to note to you, this isn't about pushing religion, but it's about believing in something bigger than yourself. Because when we're down and out and we feel sad and unhappy, if we don't have something to reach out to, it could really do a number on our feeling of hopelessness and wanting to give up. So I do encourage you to believe in something other than your own self. Because right now you got to pull yourself out of the gutter and you need something to reach to, okay? So now we're going to talk about why you became unhappy. There's a couple of reasons. There's more, because as I always say, before I say that, nothing works in the absence of love. Think about it. Not your diet, not your job, not your finances, not your relationships, not your family. Nothing, okay? So when there's more fear in your life than love, right, this becomes a problem, which means you're probably being negatively influenced by energy vampires, which we know that your parent is one right now. That's why you're here. having problems in that area. The other reason you're unhappy, because you're living an authentic life. When we get so far removed from who we are, who we truly know that we are inside, our gifts, our talents, the further away we are, because everyone told us, you can't do that, you can't be that, you have to do this. So the further away we are from our true self, the more unhappy we become. Okay? Perhaps there's no purpose or meaning in your life, right? That we're meant to help each other, and we're meant to serve and, help contribute to the greater good of this world. So if we feel like we have no purpose, no meaning, this also makes us unhappy, because we feel like giving up and saying, why the hell am I here? So having no meaning or purpose can make you unhappy. Or perhaps your life is out of balance, right? Maybe you're giving away more of yourself than you're getting back from others. You're a people pleaser. People that are emotionally wounded, usually the healers of the world, we tend to give more than we get back. And after a while, it builds resentment, okay? There's a saying that says when you give more than you get, you become resentful. If you take more than you give, you tend to feel guilty, okay? Or your energy is too low, or probably a combination of all of these, right? Fear triggers negative emotions. Negative emotions suck the energy out of us. So let's talk about why your parent is causing you emotional pain. Typically, wounded people wound other people. So, again, this isn't about letting your parent off the hook right now. This is about you putting on your big girl, big boy pants and starting to take ownership of your emotions. All right? This is why you're here. So this isn't about blaming your parents or your family members or Uncle Bob or the neighbor down the street. I mean, they're part of the triggers that make us upset, but really what we're learning to do through emotional evolving and empowerment is learning to own our own feelings, learn to manage them and be in control of them regardless of what's going on in your life, okay? Regardless of the negative people that come at you or the negative surroundings in the world or environmental stuff. No matter what's happening. Now, I'm not saying you're never going to be unhappy, because we're human beings. So you're going to have all those different emotions at some point in your life. You are going to feel angry, pissed off, jealous, whatever, all the negative feelings, but you're not going to lose yourself to them. You're going to be able to allow your body to feel it, and then you're going to be able to go, hey, you know what? I'm in control here. So let's pull that back, and you'll be able to use your inner wisdom to realize if you're losing too much energy to anger, you're going to pull it back. And you'll be able to look at yourself in third person, observe what's triggering you, and we're going to talk about triggers in some of the other lessons in this stage. Lots of exciting things. So that's what I'm saying. It's not that you're not ever going to feel these things. You are, but you're going to know how to manage them. Right now, you're not managing very well, okay? So why your parents caused you emotional pain? Because right now, the universe has put that parent in front of you for you to learn something about this person, okay? Now, here's a couple reasons why they're in emotional pain too, okay? They've had unhealthy role models. Maybe their parents, your grandparents, were not happy campers either. Maybe they were not nice people. And your parents. And it's hard for us to think of our parents that way, because we think of them as being these, people that we look up to. We don't look at them as normal human beings that, cry and bleed, and we don't think of them that way. So that's where a lot of times we're stuck in inner child, And we're going to talk about inner child in next week's session. Well, we're stuck in more of a childlike mentality where we can't reason, even as adults, and see that, hey, my parent is a real person. You know what I mean? So they may have had negative role models, okay? So you can't be something other than what you know. And if that's all they knew back then, chances are they can't be a better parent or a healthy parent to you. So that's one reason. So again, they're emotionally wounded as a result of having an unhealthy parent role model. Maybe they're struggling with fear-based negative emotions. Perhaps they're angry or depressed, sad, resentful, unforgiving. Particularly if your parents are divorced. I've gone through divorce and I can understand the level of anger, resentment, bitterness, jealousy. All the ugly stuff comes out when you're divorced. So if your parents went through a divorce, tack that on to why they're not being healthy parents to you right now. They're very self-absorbed in their own pain, okay? So that happens. And perhaps they're self-sabotaging as well. Perhaps they're dealing with some sort of addiction, drugs, alcohol, gambling, eating too much, not eating enough, and maybe they've contemplated suicide. We don't know the level of disparity that your parents going through, okay? A lot of times people don't have the courage to face or admit their emotions. The fact that you did and you're here today speaks volumes. But think about it, in the older days, they didn't talk about emotions, right? They didn't talk about that. That was something they shelved because they believed it was a sign of weakness. So, we can't always blame them. So right now, I know you're not in a place to go, well, I understand my parent. Because when I was angry, pissed off, right where you are right now in this minute, I didn't want to hear about them. But I know that you need to hear about this right now, okay? And I do sympathize that they're causing you pain. I'm just showing, remember, this whole stage is about awareness. Trying to understand why these things are happening to you, okay? And we have to listen to all parts of the story. Right now, you're listening to this piece because it only hurts there. I'm going to show you a broad range of reasons why things are happening and why it came to that part in your life. It didn't happen overnight. This has been manifesting for a very long time and for all these reasons, okay? So that's why we're bringing it up. The other thing is they lack self-love, right? They have low self-esteem, low self-worth. They have no self-respect, making them unable or even unaware of how to love unconditionally. Remember, they can't give you something they don't have. So they don't love themselves in a healthy way. There's no way they can love you. That's as silly as saying, I'm going to teach you how to cook eggs Benedict, and they have no idea how to cook eggs Benedict. They're going to fumble through it blindly. So that's what a lot of parents do. Fumble through parenting very blindly and wounded, okay? The other thing that might be happening for your parent is they're distracted by stress or fear, okay? Maybe they're worrying, and I know parents don't. If you're a parent, we don't always share these problems with our children because we want to protect them from it. But meanwhile, they're really doing some damage to us in a really big way, right? When I was a single parent raising my 3 children, I was going under horrendous stress, but I didn't want them to be scared. So I wouldn't share that I couldn't pay my bills, that the hydro might shut off, and that I was struggling. I was in a horrible way, but I didn't want to share with them. So I was under a horrendous amount of stress, fear, each and every day, okay? On top of all the wounds from my divorce, from my dysfunctional family, I was a hot mess. The fact that I'm here today helping you and in a better place, that should speak volumes. So maybe they're distracted. Maybe they're in debt. maybe they don't have job security. They're worrying about their job or not, putting food on the table, right? Perhaps they're in relationship problems, going through a divorce, or dysfunctional family with their family. Maybe they have health concerns that they're not sharing with you, chronic pain or disease that they're fighting. So, there's a lot of stuff that parents go through that they don't share. So, again, to recap, unhealthy role models. They're emotionally wounded. I'll put 100% on that because there's no parent manuals. We're all running wounded. And for some reason, society thinks that's okay. But anyways, I'm going to get fired up. They lack self-love. All right? Most people don't know how to love themselves. They don't even like themselves. Or they're distracted by fear and pain. Okay. So now let's talk about how your parent raised you with fear. Remember, every decision we make is based on fear or love. The fact that you're unhappy and you're having power struggles with your parent tells me that you were raised with more fear than love. Okay? And I'll tell you what, there's 3 common fear-based parenting approaches that cause so many people to fail at being good, conscious, loving parents. Okay? Number 1, there's still no parenting manual, right? Parents are completely, untrained when they bring you home. They brought you home. Now, I joke about it, but I used to say, let me flip the baby over and look for instructions. They help you through the pre-birthing and through birthing. Then they say, here you go, and you have to figure it out. Now, thankfully, there's Google that exists. Didn't exist when I was raising my 3 children. But you can search some things out and inquire, and there's groups and stuff like that. But still, when you're raising a child and it's 2 a.m. and the kid's screaming and you're losing your marbles, where are those people? It still baffles my mind how we have to have a license to drive, right, a vehicle that has no emotions, but yet a human being with emotions, we're just winging it, okay? So, again, there's no parent manual, and especially so the parents have no confidence. Think about it. Anything that you are knowledgeable about, you feel confident about, right? When you're doing something for the first time, you lack confidence, especially new parents. And usually by the first 5 years, that's when the child's most impressionable, and they could do some major emotional damage. But by that time, a lot of things are already, too late, right? So that's one of the reasons. The other thing is blind parenting. Again, parents roll the dice and hope they turn out a winner. They have that sort of mentality that it's trial and error. Well, hopefully it'll work with this one. If it doesn't work, we'll try that one. They don't realize that each of their children are unique. They have their own set of purpose and emotions, and what you do for one isn't necessarily going to work for another. You have to be a conscious parent to be able to know the difference and meet your child's emotional needs. So rolling the dice and going, well, we got 4 out of 5 good kids. This one's hopeless. That was a mentality. That was how my parents used to think. Oh, well, at least I still have 4 kids. This one, don't know what to do with. What is that about? Okay, but that was a mentality. The other one is default parenting. Okay, a lot of parents will go, well, because they don't know what they're doing, they'll follow what their parents did. Okay, and I'm sure there was dysfunction there and there and there, trickle-down effect. A lot of them will have that, well, I turned out okay mentality, and truth is, you didn't really. You're probably not happy, okay? So that's the start of what starts to go wrong, okay? The other way they raised you, is I'm touching on a few of these things, is being an unconscious parent or being a neglectful parent, or both, okay? So what's an unconscious parent? Parents that are not mindful or aware of what's truly happening in their child's life. They're just so blind, they're just so oblivious. You know, I'll give you an example. Their child is vegan and they keep serving them, you know, steak and potatoes. That's being so blind and oblivious. Oh, I didn't know you were vegan. Why not? Okay. Parents that lack the emotional intelligence to be able to nurture their child's emotional needs. They have no clue. They don't know how to communicate well, speak well, listen well. They don't have the emotional intelligence. Okay. So that's unconscious. Or again, they have poor or unhealthy communication skills. You know, many times unconscious parents don't even look at their children. They tend to be, you know, distracted, especially 21st century parents. We're all doing this on the cell phone and we're not even looking at the person we're talking to. Okay. Or a fear-based conditional love, controlling, they have a negativity in nature. So they're more using conditional love. That's what an unconscious parent does. They say, if you want this or you want me to do this, you have to do this. That's what an unconscious parent does. Okay? And that's because they fall under specific fear-based parenting styles, which I'll talk about later. The ego, they're more of a victim parent. Feel sorry for me. They're needy. They're distracted, or they're dismissive. Okay, so those are examples of unconscious parents. Basically, when they're so wrapped up in themselves and their own suffering, because they're wounded, that they're not paying attention to you and they've become unconscious. Okay, the other parent is a neglectful parent. So what I mean by that is many parents have it half right. They focus on the physical responsibilities of parenting and they neglect the emotional needs of the child. Often, a lot of old school parents don't even know what that means, what emotional needs are. They don't think of that. They say as long as there's a roof over your head, food on the table, shoes on your feet, I've done my job. So they focus on, getting you to school and doctor's appointments and making sure your laundry's done. All the, teaching you how to ride a bike. These are all physical, responsibilities that most parents carry through, but they neglect the emotional. And that's when things start to go sour, okay? So that's another reason. So your parents raised you with either fear, some level of control, or God forbid, abuse, okay? Toxic parents use fear, intimidation, and punishment to control their child's behavior. Unfortunately, children are very easy targets for toxic parents to control and instill fear into because they're innocent. They have blind faith in the parent. They have no reason to doubt the parent. So they're loyal. They're very loyal because they need the parent. And they have complete trust in their parent, okay? Making them very, very vulnerable. So even adult children, like yourself, have a hard time believing that your parent would intentionally hurt you. Because I used to remember saying, are my parents just trying to hurt me purposely? Or are they just plain stupid? It was probably a bit of both, ignorance and intentional, because I was presenting them with things that they didn't want to deal with, okay? So let's continue. So whether your parents intentionally or unintentionally, probably because their parents did it to them, caused you their actions, caused you pain, here are some of the damaging ways your toxic parents did it and raised you with fear. They could have used one or several of these different strategies. So number one, physical threats and intimidation. You know, my mother was the queen of dirty looks. She would give you the look that meant, when I get you home, you're gonna get it. And it used to scare the bejesus out of us. So you just spent the rest of the time worrying about how she was gonna spank you, beat you, or punish you. Okay? So scaring you with dirty looks, warning you that you were gonna get spanked if you didn't do what they wanted. So because you were physically vulnerable and smaller, you probably agreed to being controlled by your parent because of their intimidating size or strength over you, especially if the father was a disciplinary. You know, you see this big person coming at you, it's pretty scary. My mother was mostly the disciplinary. She used to spank us and pull our hair and twist our ears, and she would even bite us. I mean, it was pretty bad. I remember her saying for me to go get the belt so that she could hit me with it. You know, so, you know, the scars, they're deeply rooted when the person who's supposed to love you the most is hurting you the most. Okay? So threats and intimidation, physical pain and punishment, right? I remember my mother pulling me down on her knee and spanking me when I was 13 years old in front of my two best friends. It was not only intimidating, humiliating, definitely scar creating, right? So there's a lot of different ways that they use physical pain or punishment. Spanking, pinching, biting, pushing, hair or ear pulling, you know, sticking soap down your mouth to wash your mouth out, kicking, spank, slap, punched, throwing things at you, choking you, or using some other form of abuse or violence to instill fear in you in order to control your behavior. Okay. So the other ways they use fear and control is using blame, shame, and guilt. So each of these contributed to lowering your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your parent being able to control you. Because remember, controlling parents is all about keeping you small and disempowering you so they still feel in control, okay? The more empowered you are, and that's the secret I'm giving away right now, okay? The more empowered you are emotionally, doesn't mean you're better than them, but you're more emotionally mature or evolved than they are. And that threatens narcissistic, toxic people and parents, okay? Because old school, unconscious parents believe that they have to be in control in order to be a good parent, which is totally not the truth, okay? So what they want to do is keep you vulnerable. They want to maintain vulnerability. So they'll belittle you, shame you, make you feel bad about yourself, right? To keep you vulnerable and emotionally weak so they can control you, okay? Because that's what ego, emotionally, energy vampires do. They go after people who they believe are emotionally weaker than them, right? Because then that puffs them up, makes them feel better about themselves, right? So think about any bully. They always go after the weaker one because they're easy prey. So when you're emotionally weak and vulnerable, you're easy prey. So through this whole teaching and this program, you're going to learn how to be emotionally strong, okay? They also encouraged perhaps unhealthy competition, or what we call sibling rivalry amongst your siblings. If you had siblings, they encouraged, you know, they would say how great Bobby was and how much better Susie was than you are, to make you feel that there's a lack of love, that you have to fight for your fair share of love and attention from your parent, all right? So my parents loved that, you know, for the longest time. I couldn't understand it. I have 3 children, and one of my greatest things that make me happy is seeing them all get along and love and respect each other, okay? So the fact that some parents would make them fight amongst each other, it empowers them. I know it sounds sick and twisted, but that's what happens, okay? So this encourages jealousy, resentment, bitterness, drama, and unhealthy competition. So perhaps you're having problems with a sibling now too because of your parent. I know my oldest, we'll talk more about the golden and different family, but my parents used to worship basically the oldest child. She was the golden child, and I was the forgotten middle black sheep of the family, and I'd always feel like, second fiddle to her. So my parents were hard to take on, so it was easier for me to fight with her and blame her. But the truth of the matter was, it was really my parents that were instigating it, and she was just taking all the love and attention because it was given to her. So really, in fact, it wasn't her, it was them that was causing the problems, okay? So there's also punishment and abuse. My mother used to love to send us into the corner. Some people do timeouts. Dismissing a child or putting them in the corner or another room is very damaging, okay? It's isolating. It's telling them how worthless they are. It does so much emotional damage. Ignoring a child, yelling, screaming, shouting, name calling. I remember working with a woman who used to call her child, her 16-year-old, horrific names, like sickening. And those scars, once you've said the words, you can't always take them back. You can't take them back. Once you've said the words and called your child a bitch and all kinds of, nasty things, coming from your parent, that's extremely wounding, okay? I remember my father called me a horrible rat one time, and although I've forgiven him, I never forgot that. The fact that those words would come out and he would compare me to a rat, it implies a lot of stuff going on. So, humiliating, like I said, spanking me when I was 13, embarrassing, swearing at, speaking with vulgar or inappropriate language is all emotionally damaging. Like I've also seen parents who act inappropriately with their young teens, thinking that that's their buddy and they're emotionally scarring. It's actually a form of abuse by talking dirty and, talking inappropriately to their younger child. It's not healthy. They think that's their buddy, they're speaking inappropriately, but it's doing all kinds of damage to the child who doesn't have life experience to understand this sort of language. Okay? And finally, we're going to talk about the emotional damage that you're dealing with now. So here are some of the things that you may be dealing with. Okay? Fear. Fear of being hurt or in danger of pain. In danger or in pain. Okay? Your self-esteem is probably not healthy. Your self-confidence, you lack self-confidence, right? Maybe you've been made to believe that you're not good enough. I remember my parents always saying, you're never going to amount to anything, right? Especially to my twin sister. Fortunately I did well in school, but they always used to compare me to her and, or her to me and tell them, call her all kinds of names, how stupid she was, and she never amounted to anything. What is that to your self-esteem? Really? Again, people are supposed to love you the most. They're hurting you the most, That's painful. You become passive or codependent, from feeling scared or vulnerable, that your self-confidence, self-esteem is so low, you don't believe you can do anything by yourself, that you always need help all the time, that you're unable. So it's really struggling to feel independent, okay? You've learned to mistrust. This was a big one for me. You know, you don't trust people because you've been hurt and disappointed so many times that by your parents telling you that they were going to do something or behave a certain way and they just didn't. And it didn't happen once, but several times over and over again. After a while, you just like, I can't trust you. Why would I believe you? And you carry that with you through your life, okay? And of course, it's going to cause relationship problems, problems at work, problem with the government, problem with everything, okay? You've learned how to avoid taking risks. You've learned that you want to play it safe, okay? Because safe means no pain. You know, stepping or crossing the line or voicing your opinion got you in trouble, got you hurt, got you smacked around. So you learn to just play it small. I'll be over here, I'm invisible, don't hurt me. So you learn how to avoid risks. And it's unfortunate because life involves risk taking, you know, it really does. So this is why you're challenged with a lot of things that you're going through right now, okay? It also creates negative beliefs in us that you inherited, unfortunately, your parents' negative beliefs, right? Your beliefs aren't your own, I can tell you that right now. A lot of what you're believing were downloaded to you. You don't even know how to think for yourself because you weren't allowed to think for yourself. When you were within a controlled environment, you didn't think outside the box. You just said whatever they wanted you to say, and you believed everything they wanted you to believe, okay? So we're going to work on new beliefs as well through the program. So you feel a lot of shame or guilt, right? Because everything bad that happened was your fault, right? So you've learned to, you apologize, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, all the time. Now it's healthy to apologize, shows that you're mature, but when you're constantly apologizing for stuff you haven't even done, then that's a different story, okay? You've developed reactive, defensive behavior because you're triggered now. Because of all the pain that you've pushed down and haven't been able to deal with, you're very reactive. So if somebody says something to you, you want to go for the jugular and rip their head off. You may even be doing it subtly on Facebook. As soon as something comes, you know, you gotta debate it. It's because you're triggered. When you learn to respect your energy and know when to fight and when to let it go, you'll be more balanced, okay? But right now, you're reactive because you want to defend yourself and protect yourself. That you're sick and tired of people controlling you, so now you're going at them. The other thing you might be experiencing is a lot of stress that you can't manage or anxiety. It's what I call the what if syndrome, worrying about the future. What if this happens? What if that? What if, what if, what if? We can't control the future, right? And we have to let go of the past. The only thing you're in control of is right here and right now. But we'll learn that through your healing process, okay? And again, you have low self-worth, that you feel unimportant, devalued, that you don't matter. But I'm here to tell you that you do matter, that the world will not be the same place without you in it, right? I'm into puzzles now. I've been doing puzzles as a form of meditation and clearing my mind. And I looked at the puzzle the other day, and one piece was missing. Do you know that was so frustrating when one piece is missing? And what am I getting around by that? Is that in order to see the whole picture, or a clear picture of our world and our universe and our purpose on this planet, we need all the pieces of the puzzle. That means we need every single individual to be who they are, to live their purpose, okay? So you do matter. You are that one piece of puzzle that's missing right now because you're lost. You don't know who you are and where you fit in. You feel like giving up. But I'm here to tell you don't, because I've been guided to help you, all right? That the world would not be the same place without your energy in it, all right? So this sort of concludes lesson 1. I hope you understand why you're unhappy, where this pain came from, okay? What your parents did wrong, right? And why we're going through this whole process. It's going to shed a little light that your pain is real, justified, and you're exactly where you need to be, all right? So what I've done is in each lesson, I want you to get a folder and put homework on it. Because I'm going to give you one homework assignment that you're going to put in your folder. We'll actually start doing the healing process. We're going to refer back to these homework assignments. So put one together. So today's homework assignment is I want you to go through, it's called Was I a Victim of Family Dysfunction? And I've got it separated into the different types of, remember I said that there were different negative parenting styles, the victim, the bully, the controller. You're going to go through each type of negative parenting and the negative emotional effects that it's done to the child. And I want you to see how much damage and why and where it's coming from. So finish that homework assignment. Shouldn't take you long to do. Stick it in the folder. So a quick touch on lesson 2 is why we need our parents' love. Understanding the emotional needs of your inner child. And I touched on inner child. About that little child that needs mommy and daddy to love them. Okay? You'll learn the importance of a parent's unconditional love between themselves and the child, and how it directly impacts the child's emotional needs. Okay, so that's pretty exciting too. So I hope you found this useful. Again, listen to it as often as you need to. Do the homework assignment. Get plenty of rest. Eat well. Get outside. Get that energy up. Continue through. And stay hopeful. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. But other than that, I will see you lesson 2. God loves you. You're doing great. I'm so proud of you. Know that this too will change and you're on your way. You may not be where you want to be, but at least you're not where you used to be. In the words of my role model and mentor, Joyce Meyer. God bless you. Stay well. Thank you for doing this with me, and I'm with you and the privilege working with you. I'm babbling now. I'm going to let you go.